let's get right into it. I want to show you all something I've been working on, experimenting with, and I thought it would be a great time to share that with you all and then see what you come up with. Let me know in the comments if you're already using this process or method or these tools, and if you want to see more things like this. But for the most part, what you can see right now is I have ChatGPT and then I have Claude open here in the browser. And I'm saying that to say because you can use the desktop version of these. Obviously, you can also use the mobile or the tablet version, but we're specifically talking about the browser version of these tools here. And I have them side by side for a reason. And I want you to see it this way. That way you can see A/B scenario and you can see how my mind is thinking when it comes to striving to mirror both of these tools and in the best way that I can, and whatever one lacks, I can always make up with the other one. So right now, you again see ChatGPT on the left side, Claude on the right side. And what I've been doing is just automating these tools or making them a lot more automatable, if that's a word. That's not a word, but I'm gonna say it. Making them a lot more automatable by using the connectors features on both sides. So if you're not aware of ChatGPT, well, you're probably living under a rock. But if you are aware of ChatGPT and Claude, then let's start there. And the beautiful part about these tools is you can now integrate them with other apps. Now they call them connectors here in their platforms, but at the same time, it's just integrations. It's just a way of doing it with AI involved. And that's the cool part about this situation. And you can see that I already have certain apps connected. These are two different platforms, but you can see there's some similarities, right? There's some patterns that you can see to both of these. Let me move myself real quick. And then one thing I would definitely say is that the native connections or connectors or integrations are going to be better than the advanced or the custom ones, but I've been experimenting with the custom and they're getting there. And so I just wanted to show you to help you become more of an early adopter in this process. But first things first is you got to realize that you need to be using the paid versions of each of the tools. Now you can use whatever plan you want, but you do need to have a paid plan. If I'm not mistaken, it won't work on the free plan to be able to make these connections or use these connectors. So if you're on the paid plan, doesn't matter which one, you'll have this capability. As you can see, I have Canva here and I have Canva here on this side as well too. And then I have Gmail and then I have Gmail over here on this side. I have Google Calendar here in ChatGPT, and then I have Google Calendar also here in Claude, and I have Google Drive in ChatGPT, and I have Google Drive in Claude. Now, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds in this video because I just want to make it short, but this whole process of integration was actually invented, the framework was invented by Claude that came up with the term MCP, Model Context Protocol. Now, you can always look that up. You can use the AI tools to look that up, but this is what this is all about. This is what MCP is all about, and I'm so excited about this. This has been one of my favorite features to AI in a long time because it gives us the ability to integrate with the tools that I just mentioned now. Now, that's not where things end. The best part about this situation is they have these native integrations that they connect with automatically. And you can see right here, browse connectors. These are the other connectors that I'm not using. But if you do use any of these, Dropbox or something from Microsoft or HubSpot, boom, perfect. You're in there like swimwear. And then you also have browser. Now, Claude's going to have more. Remember how I just said Claude invented, right? They came up with the whole MCP. So it would make sense that they would have more connectors ready, more native connectors ready to go. So you can see this is a long list of native connectors here. And then remember how I said at the beginning that this is a browser-based workflow or scenario? Well, Claude also has desktop versions of certain connectors as well too. If you have the desktop version of Claude, then you should be able to get that for Mac or for PC. Either way, okay? I don't know about you Linux users out there. I don't know about that one, but you can look that up. Now, when it comes to these connectors, the best part about one of the connectors that both platforms have, and you may already know this, you may be seeing it, it is bright and orange like the new iPhone 17. That's another conversation for another day, but it is orange and it is Zapier, right? So you can see Zapier is on both sides here. When you use Zapier, which is an automation tool, it's one of the beginner or I shouldn't say beginner. It's one of the early adopters of automation platforms that just became the gorilla or the 700-pound gorilla over time. So they are one of the biggest ones for average consumers, average users, people who don't want to know how to code or don't understand code. If you want to integrate into your other apps within your workflow, personal and business, Zapier is a great way to go. The thing is that Zapier got expensive over time, and that opened up the doors for new avenues, for new apps, for new platforms to come in. So it's also why you see this one called Ottokit right here in ChatGPT. And then you also see Ottokit right here inside of Claude. Now, I added Ottokit via a custom, on both platforms, but when it came to Zapier for Claude, they had a native integration, which made things easier, but it wasn't hard to do it with ChatGPT at all. I'm just going to show you real quick. When it comes to ChatGPT, you open up, well, you hit the create button, and then it's going to open up this. Now, this is in beta, so it may look different when you're watching this, okay? That's why I said this is some early adopter type stuff. But what you would do is you would name the tool, and then you would get what's called a MCP server, a URL. And so I'm going to go to Zapier real quick. And if you want to see this window, you're going to go to mcpzapier.com. You're not going to go to the normal Zapier. That's something that kind of confused me. I'm sure many others. So you're going to want to go to mcpzapier.com. And then from there, you can create a MCP server. So as you can see, I've already created a server, right? I have a ChatGPT server and I have a Claude server. Now, the one thing I don't like right now that I had to find out the hard way is that one, you can't duplicate the servers, and two, you have to make a different server for both ChatGPT and Claude. I was hoping I can take this URL, this connect URL, and this is another thing too. This, I'll say website or this server, not the MCP server, but whatever this page is being hosted on, it can be kind of slow. I think somebody said that if you have a lot of connections or tools added, it gets slower and slower, which I do believe that, and I do have a lot added, so. But I wanted to show you all in this demo. But if you copy this URL here, see how it says connect URL? If you copy this URL here, you'll see that if I copy this and I paste this here, that's what's gonna give me the Zapier. So that's how I got the Zapier, and then I would do an OAuth, click this checkbox button, click this checkbox, and then click create, right? And that's how I got this right here, this Zapier. Now, I know it says can't be used for search, but that's just because this other stuff is used for, I guess, deep research. These native tools are used for deep research, even though you can still search with this. And then when you do that, you'll see all the tools that you've connected here in the configure area. Any of the tools that you connected in the configure area. If you want to add a new tool, you can add a new tool here. You would click this right here. The tool, the button. Normally, I'll click add all tools if every tool in this platform I want to use, but sometimes that's not a good thing. So therefore, you just want to, I'll say click each one individually. You want to do it that way, right? But that's just an example. That's Airtable. And so like I said, anything that you add as a tool here, and basically it adds the actions. So to be specific, it doesn't just add the tool, and it's kind of confusing in the way that they phrase it, but it adds the platform, and then each action is considered a tool. You know, that's how sometimes they really frame it. It is kind of weird, but we're gonna go for it for now. So as you can see, I have Calendly, ClickUp, Zoom, Google Drive, Google Analytics, YouTube, Google Docs, Google Calendar, Gmail. Each one of these is a different action. So anything here that you see, it's a different action. Google Sheets. These are just the tools that I use in my company or my personal life. And it's going to mirror the same things over here. When I connected, remember, I said I connected the URL here inside of ChatGPT. And now you can see all the tools I have. And in ChatGPT, you just turn each one off and on by clicking the toggle button. And notice how it says write. And that's what's powerful about this. A lot of the native tools in ChatGPT or others, they only let you read. You can't necessarily edit and modify using the AI tool, using ChatGPT. It can read, it can list, it can find, but can it modify and edit on your behalf? Now, if you don't want it to do that, then you should not connect the tool or you should turn it off. But if you do want it to do that, that's a capability that you can do as well. And so that's Zapier right there. And then with Ottokit, I did the same thing. So I'm going to go over to Ottokit here, and I'm in Ottokit now. And it's very similar. That's why I wanted you to see it from an A-B split kind of way, because you can see there's so much similarities in these tools. Ottokit is more of a new kid on the block, but they are powerful, and they're getting up there with Zapier. And so you see I have YouTube. I think I passed Zoom here. I have Google Meet, Google Drive, ClickUp, Calendly, Gmail. You can see what I did was I mirrored everything I can do in Zapier MCP feature. I did it in Ottokit as well too. Ottokit used to be called Sure Triggers. It was meant to be a kind of a Zapier for WordPress, but what's great about them is they're beyond WordPress. You don't have to even use WordPress to use this tool. So that's just the thing about it. And so what's also dope is that it's a lot cheaper than Zapier as well too. Zapier can get pricey, but I'm not saying it's not worth the price of admission. So that's MCP when it comes to Ottokit. And then when it comes to the URL from Ottokit, you see the URL here, which I'm glad that they hide this versus Zapier. I copied this, right? I copied the server URL, the MCP server URL, and I pasted it inside of Ottokit the same way, inside of ChatGPT, right here in the area here. So that's important for you to see that it's that simple. It is that simple. And then you can add the icon image if you want to. It's up to you, but you would trust this application. And then if it's something that you're logged into, you might want to do the OAuth to make it easier for, just to give a more security features to it. Okay. And so when it comes to Claude, it's the same thing. Now with Claude, I could not get Ottokit to work on the browser version. Right now, their documentation is more geared towards the desktop, but this is where I believe that things are just still kind of muddy or in the water when it comes to MCP and what works and what doesn't work, and nobody really knows until you try and test it. Because from a logical standpoint, you would think that this Ottokit would be working the same way that it works here in ChatGPT, and it does not work in Claude, even though Claude has a better MCP overall environment. It's kind of interesting, right? But Ottokit does work in ChatGPT, but it does not work in Claude so far. I even tried to do Pabbly as well too, and that wasn't coming out. And the way I know that it does not work is because if I go to new chat and I click this search and tools, you can see here I have Zapier. And if I click this, you can see all the tools in Claude I have access to via Zapier. Isn't that crazy? Y'all, when I say these are agents that we have now, these are not chatbots. These are agents. Like it's crazy. And so I could click that there, but then if I do the same thing with Ottokit, empty, no tools available, right? Same thing with Pabbly, empty, no tools available. But over here in Ottokit, if I click this, you can see all the tools. Zoom, you see Zoom right here. We see Zoom. We have YouTube. We have Google Meet, Google Drive right here, so forth and so on. And it's the same tools I have here. I have Zoom, I have YouTube, Google Meet, Google Drive. You see where I'm going with this? So that's how I know, one, Ottokit works in ChatGPT. And two, if I were to test it right now, the way that you would test it. Now, one thing I forgot to tell you is that in order to get that feature, you have to turn on developer mode right here, advanced settings, turn on developer mode beta, toggle this on. So that way you can add, you can create connectors, right? And then you can use these connectors inside of ChatGPT right here. It says developer mode. When you turn this on in ChatGPT, see how now I have access to those custom connectors. But notice how I don't have access to my native connectors, right? I would have to go to the agent mode. See what I'm saying? To use the native ones here, or the deep research mode. Same thing. So you see, that's how ChatGPT works. It's a little different, or actually, no, it's just different than Claude. Their goal is the same, but their approach is totally different. That's just the reality of it. And so with Claude, I don't have to necessarily turn on a tool before a tool. Meaning with Claude, I just have to toggle on Zapier, and then that gets me access to my other tools, or Ottokit. Where in ChatGPT, I have to use specifically one of their kind of features. Like I have to use an agent mode. In agent mode, it has limitations, meaning it has a limited number of times I can use it per month. Same thing with deep research. But with developer mode, I noticed there is no limit right now. Maybe because they're just testing things, but with developer mode, there is no limit right now. But I have to have on developer mode in order to use Zapier and Ottokit. So these are things that I want you to think about, at least for now. Now, this is probably going to change, but for now, this is what it is. And the other cool part about connecting with connecting with Claude, let me take that back. Connecting with Claude right now, currently, is when you connect Zapier with Claude, you can use it on your mobile phone. You can use it on your tablet. You can use the tablet OS version of it, and then you can use the mobile OS version of it, the app version of it, and you'll have access to Zapier. With ChatGPT, you do not get access as of today to any of these tools. You don't even get access to the Google tool, to these tools right here, like the native ones. You don't get access to that. But on Claude, on the app itself, on mobile and on your tablet, you do get access. So that's important because it's like you get to take your AI agent on the go that has access to all your other apps while you're on the train, while you're, in commute, while you're just somewhere and you're not at your workstation or your desktop. Whereas ChatGPT, it doesn't work that way. You have to have your laptop, and be somewhere. Whereas Claude, you can have your phone or your tablet and you still get access to these tools. I think that is invaluable right now in terms of taking your agent, a smart AI technology with you. That is invaluable. That's all I wanted to show you all is the fact that you can connect tools like Ottokit and Zapier, both to ChatGPT and Claude. At least for now, Ottokit is not working with Claude the way that I wanted to do it on the browser. It will work on the desktop. They have directions for that, but I want to do it in the browser because I want to be able to take it on the go with me. However, Zapier, as of today, Zapier works both in ChatGPT and Claude flawlessly. And I've tested it multiple times. So if I ask ChatGPT, what tools do you have in Zapier? And I already had this conversation before, and I had to give it, I had to kind of correct it a little bit. So let's turn off Ottokit, and let's say that. One thing I did notice is the way that Claude uses its tools, it does use it a lot better. See, that's not what I asked to anything. Basically, that's not what I want. Okay, list all the connectors, tools, actions you have you have access to. I'll say that. And you have to really, it'll tell you it doesn't have this. You have no idea how many times that this told me I don't have access to this. I don't have access to that. I'm like, yes, you do. Especially Claude. Sometimes Claude, you got to fight with Claude. you got to be very specific, right? So you see right here, boom, 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 boom. It's naming what it has access to right there. Isn't that crazy? And then Claude, let's see the same thing. Let's see. I'm going to just highlight this, copy this, and then I'll make sure I turn off everything except for Zapier, and then click there. What I like about Claude, it's a smoother experience in terms of the tool, how it uses its tools. It's so smooth, whereas I had to fight more with ChatGPT. ChatGPT, I have to give for certain, to use these tools, you have to give the ID this and the URL that, and I'm like, that's defeating the whole purpose. If I have to know the ID of my YouTube channel or the ID of the doc that I want to use, or that, that's defeating the whole purpose of the situation. So I'm hoping they're going to work on that more. Was Claude just does what I asked it to do after I fight with. I'm just joking. Claude, for the most part, will do what I asked it to do. Every now and then it has its hiccups, but I like the fact that it does that. So right here, you can say I can connect to any popular one: Gmail, Google Calendar, Calendly, Zoom, ClickUp, Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Analytics, YouTube, Canva. So you see it's working with Zapier. And that's it. That's what I wanted to really show you all, is that this is going to take, we're about to take things to a whole new level here. And if you really are looking forward to where this is going, please share your thoughts with me. I want to know. I want to know what you think, and if this was valuable. Leave your comments or leave your thoughts in the comments. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. And that's it. All right. My name is Maestro Stevens with Iconic Templates, and I'm out. Peace.